Welcome back to another edition of Sounds Right Media. My name's Anthony.
And I'm Brian.
And today we have a great video for you. Brian has made some amazing moves and we're going to record them. We're going to show you guys some of the stuff that he's done this past week as a learning opportunity, as a time for you to see something that Brian saw on a chart and he made a great call. And we're going to dive into his brain, get some knowledge here on how we can make better calls in the future. First off, this is Brian. Brian is a 37-year veteran professional stock trader. And we're going to dive deep today. We're going to allow Brian to show us how he made some money, and hopefully it can help you in the future. Before we get right into the video, click that subscribe button, comment down below, like the video, share the video if you can, because if our membership grows, we would like to do more educational videos in the future, maybe start our own little group that you can join, so we can give real-time live trading tips day to day. All right, so we got a titties stock for you today.
I guess it is. I mean, PLBY. And we're going to look at PLBY here. These guys here just came public maybe a year ago via SPAC, which a SPAC group was hot for a period of time here. And Hugh Hefner since, has passed, I think, 2017. The family now doesn't run the business anymore, so now new management. And it looks like these guys are taking it in the right direction. I had an interesting setup on the charts. We had some rebalancing at the end of the quarter, and it led me to wanting to play PLBY, PLBY.
And boom! There's your chart for PLBY, PLBY. Ooh, I like it. Brian, what you got for us?
Well, Ant, this is an interesting one here on the charts. PLBY reported earnings on March 23rd, and obviously the street liked it. The stock spiked up, trades at 21.38. At this point here, I'm not chasing the stock. I know the inclination for a lot of people is to get in the stock while it's moving to the upside, but if we take a look, weeks prior, the stock was trading down around 12. So I'm not going to buy a 9-point move over a 2.5, 3-week span. So knowing we've got the end of the quarter coming and knowing that this stock has some interesting things going for them, I decided I'm going to watch this here into the end of the quarter and look to possibly get long it from a swing trade perspective. Now, they gave good guidance on that conference call, and they also talked about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and they made an announcement that, or I should say, they said they were going to be making an announcement sometime relatively soon to leverage themselves through the blockchain technology and using their iconic library of content.
Wow.
So, and as we talked, NFTs, some of those stocks have been hot of recent.
Right.
So what do we do here? We simply sit back and we wait for the trade to come to us, as we've talked about many, many times before. Never force a trade, never chase a stock higher. So it pulls back right in here towards the 20-day moving average here. We don't quite tag it, but we did get into some support. As you can see here, previous highs going back here on the left side of the chart. So I decided, while we're not quite at the 20-day moving average, I'm going to leg into the trade. I'm going to buy a partial position. If I get some further weakness, maybe take out the 20-day moving average, I'm going to look to add a little bit more. I didn't anticipate the stock coming all the way down to this 14 area where the 50-day moving is, but if it did, I was okay with that because my risk-reward ratio was going to be at least a minimum of 2-to-1. I say that because the high we had back on March 24th of 21.38, my target was going to be taking those highs out and pushing towards the 22.5 area being first target and 25 being second target. So on this particular trade, and this was a swing trade here that I was setting up for, and I figured I might be in it maybe a couple of weeks, maybe upwards of potentially 6 weeks, depending upon how it played out. Instead of buying the stock, I bought some call options. I bought the May 12.5 call options, and I paid $5.40. And the interesting thing is, right after I got in, and this is a day right here that I got in, right here. And the interesting thing is, the following day, and you can kind of follow along in the notes here, on March 31st, Canaccord Genuity initiated a buy in a 28 target. That morning, the stock gapped open slightly, but it didn't really take off a lot to the upside. So you could have still gotten in on that particular day. But the other interesting thing prior to that, we had on March 24th, Roth Capital raised their target to 26 from 18. So now at this point here, Ant, I've got a lot of things behind me. Okay, I've got a potential NFT announcement, as you can see in the notes there. I've got the stock approaching support area, the 20-day moving average, and some other support levels that we made mention going back, on the charts. So I've got a lot of things in my favor.
Right.
I also have now the end of the quarter coming, where we had some volatility earlier in the week, where stocks kind of got beat up a little bit. And at this point here, now I'm looking for money to flow back into stocks into the end of the quarter, beginning of the new quarter. So what do? Like I said, we get long a partial position, 4 contracts, as you can see in the notes here, 4 contracts of the May 12.5 call options at $5.40. And as it turns out, Ant, after I got in, the stock really started finding some legs and moving to the upside. We can see this was my day of entry, which was on March 30th. Then we see the following day, the stock closes at 19.55. And then on Thursday, the stock has a big spike, trades up to 25.73, and then pulls itself back and closes the day a couple of points off its highs. As it turns out, my first target was hit at 22.5. So on that particular trade, I closed out 2 contracts at $9.90 for an $898 profit, and I sold the other 2 contracts as it hit my second target up into the mid 24s, approaching that 25. I didn't wait till it got to 25 because I don't want to get greedy with any of this stuff. That's the reason why I took part of the contracts off the table, because it hit target number 1. The old saying, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. Not going to happen with me. So bottom line is, we've got 103% return in 2 days, and our risk reward ratio was dynamic on this. We'll go ahead and take a look at the options that we played on the option chain here. And if we take a look here, you can see there was 7 contracts traded right here on this option that I was in.
Right.
The high being 12, the low print being 990.
Okay.
4 of those contracts are mine. 2 at 12, 2 at 990. We move all the way over here and we can see this is the strike price right here, the 12.5 call. Now the interesting thing about this here is, I always say you never want to chase. Okay, so when the stock traded near its highs of the day, up in here, 25.73. If we take a look at over here now, this option here traded up as high as $6, and that was the April 20 call. Okay, April 20 call traded up as high as 6. If we see here now, you can see where it closed. Bid for, offered 430. So anyone that chased the stock to the upside, even on this breakout to new high territory, they're now sitting trapped. They bought at 6. They're now looking at options that are at 4 to 430. They've basically lost 30% of their value because they chased the stock. You never want to chase a stock. That's the biggest thing I can say. You never want to chase a stock higher. You always want to buy dips and sell the rips. And that's exactly what I did. We hit second target up into the mid 24s. I blew out of the position. And with this being a 12.5 strike, you would get exactly what I got. $12 on the option. $12 in the money. 12.5 plus 12 is 24.5. So when the stock's trading at 24.5, it's got $12 intrinsic value. That's exactly what I got on that trade. So we combine the trades, we're making over a couple $1,000s on the trade, a little bit over 103% return. And you can't beat that. Now,
absolutely.
If we go ahead and take a look at the next thing I want to point out, and just to kind of validate the trade here, you can see here, this is on the Interactive Broker platform. Here's my name, Brian P. There is part of the account number. We can take a look. PLBY are the options. Here's the contracts that we bought. 4 contracts for $5.40. They were bought on March 30th at 13:54 and 11 seconds. And then you can also see we sold on April 1st at 10:39 in the morning, again at 11:02 in the morning, at $12, again at $9.90. And you can see the net profit here on each trade,
nice.
A little over $1,300 and close to $900 on the other. So net gain of 103%.
Now this was all just waiting for that technical setup. This was patience paying off.
Absolutely. I knew what drivers I had behind it.
Right.
End of the quarter, we had the stock pulling back into support levels, and we had the potential news driver of the NFT announcement to leverage their library. So I had a lot of different things lining up. And I sat back, as you said, patience is what
Right.
led me to this trade. And I didn't know, I'll be honest, I didn't know the stock was going to take off the way it took off
Right.
here. But I gave myself to May expiration. It gave me 6 weeks to be in this trade, to let it evolve. But fortunately, it took off immediately.
Right. One of the biggest things that I had to learn in the beginning was not chasing a stock. Now, it sounds simple, but in my experience, there's a lot of people who see that stock going up and they don't want to miss that price increase. We see every day these stocks going up by 100%, 200%. You know, like the one a day that does that, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to miss that. So you see a stock up 10% and you're like, maybe I'm going to jump on this.
Yeah.
I'm going to chase it. Maybe it's going to be that 50% gainer today. I'm going to make 40%. And then it comes down and it breaks down on you. And now you bought at 10% increase, and now you're sitting back at where it opened, and you just lost 10% of your initial investment.
So yeah, and that's why the big thing, like you said, never chase. And this was a beautiful one because, as I mentioned, I had the 3 big things that were working for me. I had the stock pulling back.
Right.
I had the end of the quarter rebalancing, and I felt there'd be money coming back into stocks the last couple days of the quarter and starting the second quarter, I should say. And we also had the news driver where they had said on their conference call they were looking at moving into NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So I couldn't have asked for a better setup.
Right.
And again, let the trade come to you.
Yep.
The big thing is,
I got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, you do. You're right.
I got to work on that.
You do a little bit because you got to remember there's always another day to trade. There's always another stock to play. And
things get hyped so much. This is the problem. Things get hyped so much, and you start buying the hype. You start going, oh my gosh, this thing's been going up for 6 weeks. Like, yeah, it's had a couple down days, but usually 5 days in a row it goes up. 6 days in a row it goes up. So this is only day 2.
Yeah.
And then you get in, and it's always when you get in that a stock breaks down, I swear. Yeah. So I've started listening to Brian, and it's paid dividends.
And here's the thing, Ann. I didn't know the stock was going to do what it did in a couple of days. I didn't know there was going to be an initiation of the stock with a 28 price target. I didn't know any of those things. That's why I gave myself out to May expiration, which was basically giving me 6 weeks on the trade. But when the stock took off that fast and it hit price target number 1, I'm taking a piece off the table. When it hit price target number 2, I'm gone. Now, that's not to say I won't revisit this stock because I'll be watching this stock here, hoping it either digests its current gains or pulls back again to get long once again, because it wouldn't surprise me if somehow this turned into one of those stocks that you just referenced.
Right.
30, 40, 50%, it goes to some crazy number. And yeah, I want to be there for it. But I'm not going to sit there and look a gift horse in the mouth when they're giving me basically 100% return in a couple days on an option trade.
And as much as you invest into PLBY yourself, I mean, you could fund the whole operation in a day. I mean, geez, this guy over here buying PLBY out of business.
Guy. Well, you know what? The funny thing is, I didn't even know these guys were back public.
No, I had, but when you said PLBY, I'm like, is that PLBY?
Yeah, I happened to see the earnings that on that day when they came out, and I'm like, okay, let's take a look and see if there's a trade that could develop. So
it's a cool thing to see though that they're getting a nice rise in stock price. PLBY is an American company,
Yeah.
I mean, it was built from the ground up from Hugh Hefner, and it's kind of cool to see. I don't know. All right, so that's it for Sounds Right Media. My name's Anthony,
and I'm Brian.
And don't forget to click that subscribe button before you go. Become a subscriber, because if we get enough members, especially soon, we can start doing these in real time. We can start showing you the options, and we can start showing you technical setups. And Brian here can allow you to gain some better insight. As I mentioned previously in the video, become a subscriber today. We want to bring you real-time trading information.
Absolutely.
And we would love for you to join our community.